Imagine being a young man raised since childhood in the shadow of a dazzling, powerful, and incredibly charismatic woman, and gradually, your filial devotion develops into something terrifying. You literally fall in love with your mother. It's not the bright love you read about in books, but a painful, suffocating dependence where admiration is mixed with quiet terror and the inability to breathe without her approval. This is precisely the trap Anthony Bakeland falls into, whose journey in the film Savage Grace becomes a chronicle of slow self-destruction. The story of the Bakeland family is a drama draped in silk and bathed in the rays of the Mediterranean sun, where behind the veneer of high society lies a frightening emptiness that turns life into an endless performance on the brink of madness. Barbara Bakeland, a woman of unbridled temperament, married the heir to a vast fortune, but was never able to find her place in the world of old money. Her husband, Brooks, aloof and cold, prefers to distance himself from his wife's emotional turmoil, leaving her isolated amidst luxurious interiors and endless social gatherings. Their son, Tony, grows up in this atmosphere of stifling privilege, becoming not just a witness to the family's collapse from an early age, but the main instrument in his parents' complex psychological game. His world is limited by the desires of his mother, who sees him not as a separate individual, but as an extension of herself, the only mirror capable of reflecting her fading beauty and significance.
The plot unfolds like a visceral drama, spanning decades and several countries, from New York to Paris and London, but the geography here is merely a backdrop for the internal decay. Brooks, completely disillusioned with his marriage, finds solace in the arms of a young mistress, which deals Barbara a crushing blow from which she will never recover. Left alone, mother and son create their own cocoon, sealed off from the outside world, where the boundaries between parental care and painful attachment begin to blur irreversibly. Tony, deprived of a firm father figure, finds himself hostage to his mother's emotional instability, who makes him the sole object for the outpouring of all her unspent and distorted passion. The film gradually plunges the viewer into an abyss of moral degradation, where the familiar norms of human coexistence cease to exist, giving way to chaos. Barbara, striving to keep her son close and attempting to cure him of his growing apathy and inner conflicts, resorts to methods that are shocking in their unnaturalness. She turns their life into a strange dance where every gesture is imbued with hidden meaning and every word cuts deeper than a knife. Tony, in turn, slowly loses touch with reality, sinking into a state of quiet melancholy that over time transforms into something much darker and more dangerous, foreshadowing the inevitable and tragic end of this protracted agony. The climax of their relationship occurs in London when the psychological pressure reaches its peak and the walls of their elite apartment bear witness to the final collapse of the human spirit. Barbara, completely out of control, becomes increasingly obsessive, depriving Tony of any chance for independence. This symbiosis reaches a critical point where intimacy turns into a destructive force, capable only of destroying all life around them. The world around them continues to revolve. Their acquaintances try to ignore the obvious madness hidden behind expensive suits, but within this small social unit, an irreparable breakdown has long since occurred, leading to catastrophe. The final act of this story is striking in its mundane cruelty and the cold calm with which the irreparable is committed. Tony, driven to the brink by his mother's overprotectiveness and his own inability to break this unholy bond, commits an act that will forever inscribe the Bakelands' name in the annals of crime. The tragic scene is devoid of pathos. It's merely the logical conclusion of a long journey begun many years ago in the shadow of a family tree poisoned by selfishness. Blood on an expensive carpet becomes the final touch in the portrait of a family that had everything but never learned the most important thing: humanity and the ability to let go before love became a death sentence.